Welcome in the arena. My name's Allyson Klein, and today is a Data Insights episode. That means I'm here with Jeniece Wnorowski. That's always a good time. Jeniece, how are you doing?
Hi, Allison. I'm doing well. It's great to be here. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I am really excited about the interview we've got lined up today. Why don't you tell us what it's about and who you brought with you?
So today I have Priya Sawant from ASAPP, and we're going to talk about all things AI. Priya is a Senior VP of Engineering. Welcome to the program, Priya.
Thank you so much, Allyson and Jenice. It's really nice to be here. As Jenice was saying, I am SVP of Engineering at ASAP. We build AI automation products for contact centers. So think about all the chat and voice AI agents that you might interact with on a daily basis. We are the people behind it.
That's so cool. I have been looking forward to this episode because the use case is so interesting to me. Tell me a little bit, Priya, about what it means to be the Senior VP of Engineering for a company like ASAP.
Yeah, so it has changed quite a bit, right? In the last few years, the technology landscape has changed significantly. And what that means for someone like me is twofold. One is the way my engineers work on a daily basis changes, and the other is what they're building on a daily basis is changing as well. So the way I like to think about is when my engineers before used to work with the traditional tools that were available to them for software engineering, now that has just dramatically changed, right? It means that the velocity increases. So before, when my job was to manage the complexity of what you are delivering, now it is making sure that we are not compromising or breaking trust of our customers by shipping something faster, but not shipping it well. So we have to still hold ourselves to the same hygiene that we were before, right? So that's about how engineers' lives are changing and why my role changes because of it. In terms of what we are building, so generative AI is a probabilistic technology to begin with, which means you have to somehow figure out how do you make sure that your customers can believe that what you're saying your technology is doing, it is doing exactly that. So creating that visibility, creating those evaluation outputs that your customers can trust in is extremely important. And so focusing more on those, making sure that my teams are ensuring that they are putting all the time needed to make sure that they can get our customers to trust in our products, despite building with a probabilistic technology, is quite important.
Mm. And now, platform engineering really gets talked about a lot, and especially right now. But in simple terms, what does it actually mean inside of your just overall organization?
Yeah, platform engineering is a topic near and dear to my heart. What it means simply is when someone says, make the right thing to do, the easy thing to do, that's what platform engineering is. It's laying down those golden pathways that everyone else can follow and just make their jobs easier, right? So you're building the tools and the platform that is required by your internal customers. So other engineers within the company that are building products. So that's what platform engineering is.
When you think about an engineering perspective, what does a well-designed platform actually improve in their day-to-day work? And, how do you drive your team towards that end objective?
Yeah. So the first thing I think about, the converse of it is if the platform is not well designed, it's going to be frictionful. If it's going to be frictionful, people are not going to use it. So your
Yeah.
adoption is low, right? So in order to make the adoption high, you need to build the right thing that people are going to use. And for that, the first thing you have to do is understand your users. And in this case, I'm talking about the internal users, of course, and you need to interview them. The way I've always thought about platform engineering is three phases. One is design. So you understand the different problems that exist in an organization and you design solutions for that. The second is the build phase. So depending on when the stronger signals are making your way, you choose to pull something out of your backlog and you actually build it of the things that you've designed. And then the third phase is adoption. And there is always a surge adoption, which means whenever you build a new tool, you'll see a lot of people on it. And then you have the tapering of adoption, the steady state, right? And that's usually how the platform engineering tools end up getting adopted in the organization. I think the proof is generally in the pudding. If you're getting strong adoption, that's a very good signal that what you've built is the right thing. And that generally overall will increase the productivity of your organization. I think of platform engineering as one of the highest leverage teams that you can have. And it is still true in this era as well.
Hmm. But where do you see engineering teams typically struggling that platform approaches are really trying to kind of fix?
Yeah. I think if you don't design any of the tools that your internal engineers are using as a product. So, what that means is if you do not pay enough attention to the developer experience, then you have not built the right thing. Generally, where the product engineering teams or the non platform engineers might spend most of their time is the cognitive overload of just putting systems together, right? A strong signal of this could be, say, a new engineer joined the team and then onboarding time is weeks, right? That's not a great thing. But if you're built the platform with the lens of a product, that is, you have cared about developer experience, then this person might ship something within a day into production. And that's a very, very good signal that you've gotten it right.
That's really interesting. When introducing new tools or platforms, what's the route that drives adoption amongst engineers that you've seen, and how does that guide your leadership?
One of the biggest things that you have to think about is you can't solve for everyone's challenges, right? So you have to make sure that you're figuring out what is the common denominator of the challenges that you want to solve for.
Hmm.
Uh, it requires a lot of thoughtful requirements gathering from your internal engineers. After that, you have to have a strategy, a technical strategy for within your platform engineering team. I will build this tool today, and that will unblock this. And then I will build this tool next, and that will unblock that, right? So it has
Hmm.
to be compounding advantage to your engineers. The other thing I have really figured out is you do not want to use there's always a carrot and stick approach to everything, and you do not want to use top down in most cases. I think organic adoption, bottom up adoption is quite important. The way I have done this and seen it being successful is when you find champions within your internal teams to adopt the product. Once you have champions and you're solving for their problems, and not, as I said, not potentially 100% of their challenges, maybe 80%, right? You're guaranteed adoption. And that those champions then do the work for you throughout the organization. The other thing that is very cool that we have tried is based off of open source project concepts. So, what I mean by that is you have user groups for different tools and you meet often and you take their input. You discuss with them what is it that you should make your roadmap look like. And that creates a kind of ownership
Hmm.
that just drives that adoption and removes the friction. So, I have seen all of these things being very successful.
Yeah. But on the flip side, Priya, what do companies usually get wrong when they roll out these new tools?
Yeah, I think when you do not pay enough attention to a developer experience, so you just think, okay, I built a CI/CD pipeline and it is available, it is there, right? But you haven't thought through what does it mean for an engineer. That is, if the engineer is going to use it, can they see the difference between the artifact that exists and the new artifact that they are deploying? If you haven't thought about that developer experience piece, I think your adoption will be really, really frictionful, right? The other part that I've seen get quite underestimated is the need for training. I think people might build tools and they might build the documentation, but if they haven't done enough, say, office hours or training, you will invariably see that there is some challenges in terms of, or friction in terms of these teams being successful.
How do you think about balancing standardization with giving engineers like flexibility in how they work?
Yeah, this is almost always the struggle. So the way I like to think about it is every team will always have something that they are doing differently than the other. The
Hmm.
idea of the platform engineering team is to lay some golden pathways that people can follow, but you also want to be able to provide some flexibility on top of it. So, what you do is take a lens of what is the common denominator that you want to solve for? What are the axes that are not something you can compromise on? For example, let's say security or reliability, right? So if you take that lens, you're going to solve the common denominator, and then you can provide the necessary components on top of it that allow for flexibility, even though you have laid down the standardized shared foundation.
For engineers, leading and or working on platform strategy, what should they focus on if they genuinely want to improve productivity?
So engineers that are working on platform, I find that their job is changing in two ways. One is, like with every other engineer, they now have all these AI tools at their disposal. Most of the work that platform engineering do in many organizations is what I call glue work. It's important work, but it's glue work, right? They are trying to figure out how to stitch different systems together to provide a unified platform to their internal customers. Now, with AI tools, this becomes a lot easier for them. So you can imagine the same productivity boost that your product engineers are seeing, your platform engineers are also going to see, right? What's changing though is the surface area that they have to cover is incredibly large at this point. The technology is changing every day. They have to keep up with what is best out there, right? And try to bring it as fast as they can and make it available to all their internal customers. You have different models. You have different platforms providing these models, different inference platforms. You have different eval frameworks. You have experimentation platforms. All of these are becoming really, really important and critical part of the product development process. As much as they are seeing the productivity boost from the AI tools, I think at the same time, their jobs harder in terms of the surface area increasing. So those are the changes that I see for them.
So, Priya, I've been listening to you talk about these best practices associated with delivering engineering work, and it's fascinating to see. But I want to take it back to ASAP for a second. Your tagline is "Pretty AI isn't enough," which I love, and you're delivering some cool capabilities. Can you talk a little bit about those and how the best practices that you've been describing have allowed your team to go fast in delivery of these core capabilities for enterprise?
Yeah. So, as you know, we serve enterprise customers. So, what I said before, which is managing complexity of the enterprises, but also ensuring that the velocity that we are gaining from all these AI tools don't compromise that trust that the enterprise customers put in us is important, right? So, in terms of what we are building that is differentiated for our customers, first of all, because ASAP has been working in the customer service space for so long, we really understand this domain. So within the enterprise space, we are really, really good at figuring out what is it that our customers' technological landscape might look like and how our products will best serve that, right? In terms of the product themselves, we make sure that, of course, we are providing the customer the outcome, but we are also providing them with the tools to build these agents themselves and then have the observability to know that whatever they have built or whatever they have deployed in their systems is adhering to their business policies and the business outcomes that they're looking for. So we concentrate a lot on what we call the observability suite as well for our customers. So we provide them the developer tools, we provide them the observability tools, then, and of course, the agents that make the outcomes happen for them. The next thing that we are working on is what we call the agentic flywheel, which is as we learn about more and more of these use cases with our customers, and as we get the data, how do we make sure that our customers can get most out of it by discovering the next use case that they should automate, their next opportunity, right? Where is their next best ROI? So these are the things that we are building now. The one thing that ASAP differs in quite a bit with from others is we have always figured out how to make sure that humans in the contact center can also be best leveraged. So we have a capability called human in the loop, which is very different than some of our customers. So for some other folks. So for example, where ASAP differentiates its HELA is it guides the agent, right? So the way I like to think about is there might be customers that believe that their certain use cases should always have a human touch, okay? Or maybe by regulation and laws, they require that a human is always involved. And we can make that happen within our platform. So those are some of the differentiated ways that we are building products to solve those contact center challenges. And as I mentioned, for my engineers, what is important is to make sure that even though their productivity is increasing, they're still indexing on the same hygienic habits we have had to maintain that trust that these customers have had in us. So all building those observability tools, making sure that we are testing what we are releasing out there. And even though this means probabilistic testing, and then also staying on top of all the advances that are happening in this technology landscape and bringing that to our customers as soon as possible is another thing that we focus on as well.
And so, looking ahead with all that said, how do you see platform engineering at ASAP evolving as it becomes more embedded into software and how it gets built?
So, like I was mentioning, I do think that AI changes the platform engineering work quite a bit. The surface area increases, but at the same time, how they do their work also changes. And I think that these are the things that we'll keep seeing. To give you an example, one of the things I talk about often to my platform engineers is before we used to create different languages-based base frameworks that would encapsulate our best practices at ASAP to make it easier for any engineer to spin up a service that will solve a challenge, right? Now, what we do is we create a base framework for an agent. And so, if anyone wants to build an agent to plug into our product platform, that's easy to do because we have created the base agent. So, it's the same job, but with different tools and different technology.
That's
Nice.
really cool. Um, I have loved our discussion. It makes me want to become one of your engineers, Priya. I don't know if I can do that after decades in marketing, but I know that our listeners are going to be really interested in what you've had to share and want to engage with you and the team. What would you say in terms of the best way to contact you and engage with the ASAP team about the solutions you're bringing to market, but also your best practices around driving developer teams to great success?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll say, Allyson, if you really want to join the team, now that the tools are available, anyone can do anything. So you should feel free to explore. Yeah, the best way to contact us or learn more about us is at asap.com. But I'm, of course, available on LinkedIn for anyone who is interested to talk to me on about enterprise contact centers and deploying AI solutions there, or even platform engineering, because, like I said, it's something near and dear to my heart.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. It was such a pleasure. And with that, Jeniece, we wrap another episode of Data Insights. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Allyson.
Thank you, Allyson. Thank you, Jeniece.